Hello, hello, hello. Hey, this is Rosa. Hopefully, your favorite real estate broker. My friends, I don't know. That just never seems to get old. It's just hopefully everybody's getting ready. It's Friday, right? It's Friday afternoon. You might be having plans to go to a birthday party, maybe even go to the beach this weekend. I know it's not going to be the hottest weekend ever. I mean, we're still here in spring, but maybe it's time to do some yard work, right? And that's fun stuff to do when you own your own home. You see, you might not be in that position right now, or you might not be even interested in doing it. Maybe you're sick and tired of doing this yard work and you need to downsize. Maybe you want to have some yard work to do and you'd be excited to be able to get that done. So you see, there's a lot of different perspectives. And so what I want to do for you here today is I want to give you some excellent real estate caring, useful, honest advice because that's what I do every day. You see, I actually met with quite a few people this morning, and that was my whole goal, is just to give them the latest and greatest market updates, what's going on in the real estate market. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today. And of course, any of you that are joining us, look, we're on quite a few different channels, but I would ask you to, if you have questions, put it in your comments, put it in the direct messaging part of this show. And what we will do is we will try to answer them as much as possible. You might even be, hey, Allie, thank you so much for joining us. Black Hawk, thank you so much for joining us. You might be curious about maybe what your home is worth and how you can figure out what's going on in this shifting market. Yes, you heard it, my friends. It is a shifting market, right? I mean, we just spent a good 3 years rocking and rolling here in real estate. I mean, we got through 3 months of COVID and it didn't stop from there, right? I mean, once we went through that whole thing together as a community, right? We got through it all, thank God. And we lost some people, and our heart goes out to people who lost family members and so forth. But once we got through it, the real estate market in particular did not stop here in central Connecticut. Now, I know we're worldwide right now. I mean, this is being broadcast everywhere. But, I'm going to give you my perspective here in Connecticut, central Connecticut especially. The market has been hot. Hey, Pantera, thank you so much for joining us. The market has been hot and it hasn't stopped since then. So if you're curious about what your property is worth, know that we, as professional realtors, myself, I will arrive at your home value, at your property value, because I even help people with commercial properties. I help people with restaurants. I've helped people with bars. Hey, Nima, thank you so much for joining us. Yes, what towns, cities, or counties in Connecticut do I cover? So I mainly cover Hartford County, Talon County, Windham County, Middlesex County, a little bit of New Haven County, Nima. So I am always available as well to help you or a family member or a friend that needs help. And Nima Rezvan, he's a local Connecticut mortgage broker. And so he's putting it out there that he is available on weekends too. So he might be someone that we would want to do business with, right? So we're gonna, actually, Nima, let's have a talk later. Let's talk, and I appreciate you coming on here on board. And if you can share this, any of you who can share this, hey, 2Live, thank you so much for joining us. La Pantera, thank you so much for joining us. Any of you who can share this or give us some likes so that we can continue this broadcast and be able to share the honest, caring real estate advice with as much people as possible, I definitely appreciate that. So, we're going to use many different factors when we're taking a look at what your home investment is worth, right? And we do call it an investment. I mean, I look at it like, yes, it is the house you live in. And you're not necessarily going to make money, cash flow from the house you live in, of course, unless it's a multifamily type of thing. But I mean, there are other ways in which you benefit from being a homeowner, right? There are other ways in which you are able to get tax advantages, right? You might be able to benefit from cash appreciation, depending, of course, the timing of things. So, right now, and this is what we're going to talk about, the timing of things. There are some of you that you will spend all day long trying to figure out the stock market. Oh man, I got to have a drink for that one. This is some kind of like energy drink type of thing. Woo! All right. So some of you will spend all day long trying to figure out the stock market, when to buy, when to sell, what stock to buy, what stock to sell. Some of you are sitting down all day long doing these NFTs, and you're doing crypto, and you're trying to figure out all these different investments. Hey, Louise, thank you so much for joining us. Right. Well, what about the home you live in? If you're trying to time things, I can tell you that most of the time, if you're not careful, you are going to lose out. Right. And so this isn't necessarily just from Rob Rosa. Hey, Zamo, thank you so much for joining. William Wells, thank you so much for joining. Yana, thank you so much for joining. This is from other housing experts as well. Is that, guess what? Right now, there's a shift in the market. And, I'm taking this information right from something that I published, which is my, home magazine. A buyer's market is coming, right? A buyer's market is coming. Do we know exactly when? Well, no, my friends, I did not put on my Nostradamus cap. I apologize. I was thinking either this wizard cap or the Nostradamus to be a fortune teller. I didn't do that today, and I'm not going to do it. But guess what? I've been doing real estate, helping people buy, sell, lease, rent for over 22 years now. And I've been through cycles of the market, right? Hey, Myra, thank you so much for joining us. And I can tell you, I can promise you that this is a new cycle, right? A buyer's market is going to come. So what does this mean for current homeowners? Well, the first thing I'm going to tell you is that you, and this is my honest to God advice, this is not real estate sales pressure baloney. Hey, Uno, thank you so much for joining us. Lewis, thank you so much. If you're thinking of selling anywhere from today, and I appreciate those likes, anything from today in the next 5 years, you need to sell now. I will promise you that if you can sell now, because that's what's going to get you the most money possible right now. And we're going to talk about what that means, right? But we know that there are still a backlog of buyers. The buyer's demand is still strong, but it may slow soon. See, real estate, hey, Uno, hey, Pizza, hey, Carolyn, thank you so much for joining us. Real estate is a lagger of the economy. So what's happening in the economy today is usually going to affect real estate in 3, 6, 9 months, maybe a year. You see how that works? Real estate doesn't change overnight. Real estate is slow, right? It's like, trying to move the big cruise ship, right? Burn the waves, and now they see something land way up front. They see rocks ahead. Well, they're not going to be able to just turn the cruise ship like that. It's slow. Real estate, except for those mortgage rates. You see those mortgage rates change pretty quick. And Luder, thank you so much. You respectfully disagree, and that's fine with me, right? So real estate, in my opinion, is 6 months behind, especially, and I'm going to focus on Central Connecticut. Even in Connecticut of the United States, right? The Fairfield County is much different from Central Connecticut. So that's what my opinion is based on. All right. So here's what the shift towards the market means, right? First of all, housing inventory, we're trying to get it to stabilize, because right now we still don't have enough homes for sale. I can promise you, I'm not going to tell you how many buyers I'm working with. I almost did, right? Hey, Calibrate, thank you so much. Muddy Mason, thank you so much. Yana, thank you so much for joining us. I have quite a few buyers that I'm working with. And when I go show homes tomorrow, that I'm going to be showing homes for about 4 hours before we're going to have a baby shower for my coming grandson, right? Well, when I go show homes for 4 hours before then, some of these people, they have seen 25, 35 homes. We've made 6, 7, 8 offers. And every single time, we are still, to this day, April 21st, we're coming upon multiple offers almost every time. Okay. So we want the housing inventory to start stabilizing. So, as maybe there are some builders that are beginning to build homes, right? Maybe buyers are going to be less likely to offer that top dollar for their home because the interest rates have gone up. I had a good 4 or 5 buyers. They're priced out of the market because of the last 90 days. They went from 4.5% to 6.5% to 7%, depending on the day, because every other day, every 5 days, it's a new interest rate for them. Okay. But buyers might be soon, meaning by the end of this summer, who knows? Maybe can it ooze into next spring? Yes, it can ooze into next spring. But buyers are sooner or later going to be likely to offer less money for your home, and that competition might start creeping up for sellers. And that's what I did today. Believe it or not, I spoke with 7 particular sellers about let's get rolling. I know you've been talking, and thank you so much for those likes. I appreciate it. I know you've been talking about maybe putting your home on the market. Well, now's the time to make it happen, because the average number of days on the market every month is different. One month we're 3 days less than days on the market of month over month. And then the next month, we're 2 days over. So you see, during and immediately after the pandemic, what happened is that homes were barely hitting the market, right? That was, and buyers were snapping them up really, really quick, right? Buyers were snapping them up really, really quick. However, now, several factors are contributing to homes sitting on the market just a little bit longer. And one of them is, of course, those wonderful interest rates, right? Hey, Blue Sky, Real Miss AJ, thank you so much for joining us. We definitely appreciate it. Okay. And so those mortgage rates, they are affecting us. That's one side of inflation, is that it's causing a lot of worry in this economy. Okay, there's a lot of worry. Talk with everybody. They don't know they don't understand exactly what could happen to them in the next 3 months, 6 months, 9 months. I mean, I can tell you, am I a little bit nervous being a full-time real estate broker? I also help people with credit repair. I also help people with coaching. I also help people with the pre-licensing class. Well, am I nervous about how am I going to feel on Thanksgiving? Right? How am I going to feel in 7 months from now? Am I going to have a great year? Am I really going to be able to help as many people that I have the capacity to? Or are there too many people that are too afraid? You see, that's the point. We need to get over this fear. Get over this fear. Get over trying to time everything, and do what you feel is going to be best for you and your family. Okay. If you know that now's the time that you need that bigger house, or now's the time that you need that smaller house, we will find a way to make it happen for you, especially a good real estate agent. If I'm not in your particular area, right, we're going to find a way to make that happen for you, because we're all about providing solutions, right? And that's what it really is. It's not necessarily, oh, you need to buy, you need to buy, you need to sell, you need to sell. It's like, hey, what's going to be the best solution for you? Let's talk about it. I mean, believe it or not, people have been coming to me asking for some crazy solutions. And so here's like an example of one of them. I asked this woman, well, why do you want to sell your condo? Why you're in the mood to sell your condo? And she said, you know what? I just can't deal with the constant traffic of my adult children. So she has 2 adult children, and when we say adult, we're talking about a 25-year-old and a 27-year-old. She's like, I can't deal with it anymore, and I don't want to ask them to leave. So I figure if I sell the condo, they're going to have to leave, and then I'm going to tell them that I'm going to go get myself a little 1-bedroom, and they're going to have to find an apartment, and I'll help them for the first couple of months. And I'm like, man, I mean, my parents love me to death. And I know they would do anything they could to help me out. And they had done a lot to help me out. But I could never at 25 years old, 27 years old, asking them to be helping me out with rent or mortgages and stuff like that, unless I was just not working and I had a big time problem. And I'm not trying to pass judgment, but that's just one example. Okay. So now let's say, and again, thank you so much for some of your comments. And any of you, if you have questions, let's talk a little bit more about it. Let's say you do decide to put your home on the market. Well, here's another point that I'm going to throw at you. Like, you're going to be like, oh my gosh, what is wrong with this guy? Well, guess what? The highest offer isn't always the best offer. Okay. The highest offer is not always the best offer. So some ideas that I want to give you, some facts that I want to give you to consider before choosing an offer for your home. So let's talk a little bit about those, right? Because sometimes the highest offer may have the worst terms. So we have to scrutinize that agreement before we decide to choose, before you decide to choose. You see, what I do for my sellers is I'm going to scrutinize that agreement for you. Hey, is that red wine? It would be nice if it was red wine. It's actually this stuff, right? Let's take a quick little break, right? It's this stuff. It's sparkling ice, zero sugar, vitamins, oxidants. See, I'm giving these guys a little commercial, but I can tell you, to Poppy, hey, it's pretty darn good. Might be making my lips and my tongue look red, but that's okay because this is a nice cold glass. And I can tell you, I did a lot of walking today, did some lifting this morning. So I need to get those vitamins. Again, oh, yeah, is that wine on the wall? Yeah, that's wine on the wall. So, I like to be every now and then, I like to say, hey, you know what? It's a Sunday dinner. Let me go get myself a bottle of wine off the wall, right? So it's kind of fun. All right. So what are some of the terms that we may need to scrutinize, especially if we have priced the home correctly for the condition of the home? We've priced the home correctly for the location of the home. We've priced the home correctly for the timing of selling. You see, if you need to sell in 10 days or 20 days, put it under deposit. You need to put this, if you're like, Rob, you know what? I need to put this under deposit ASAP. That's a much different price we might ask for than if we say, well, I don't care if it even sells maybe by the fall, right? So you need to price accordingly. So let's say you price accordingly. Well, what are some of these things we might look at? The first one might be earnest money, right? Earnest money deposit. So earnest money deposit is, okay, how much is the person, even if they're getting 100% financing, they're buying the home for $300,000 and they're financing $300,000. Well, how much are they willing to put up to show good faith, to show that they're not going to back out of the transaction? You see, I still have people who come to me and say, well, my uncle, I always blame it on the uncle and the dad. And, believe it, I'm an uncle and a dad. And I try to give great advice as well. But, it's usually the uncle or the dad. My uncle or my dad, they said to only put down $100 or put down $500. That's good enough to hold the house. No, it's not. At least not in central Connecticut. At least not in most of Connecticut, I'm sure. Right. You need to show that you are in it to stay in it and that you're being straightforward on, being sincere that you are going to buy the home. So usually there's not an exact number, but I mean, the more money that you can put down, it might be a little bit of a risk to you as a buyer. Don't get me wrong, but it might be the difference between you getting your offer signed or not. Okay. And same with the seller. The seller's going to look at it and say, okay, well, you know what? This buyer has more skin in the game and is less likely to bail on the deal. You see, nobody wants somebody who's going to bail on the deal. And if you put down $500 or $1,000, well, you might be pretty like, oh, well, I lost $1,000. I mean, I'm not like that because I don't even like to lose $1, right? But there are some people, oh, well, I lost $1,000. So usually if you want to win a bid, and if you're looking over a bid as a seller, you're going to look at how much earnest money was put down. Okay. The next thing is contingencies. Now, what are contingencies? These are basically items that need to be met for the transaction to come to fruition. Okay. So, what are some examples? Hey, Teddy, thank you so much for joining us. Christina, right? Thank you so much for joining us. Okay. So, what are some of those things that might need to be completed? Well, it might mean that you have a mortgage contingency, that you need to get the mortgage in order for you to have your offer accepted. Right. And so you might have a mortgage commitment date. Like, okay, in 30 days, I'm going to either give you a mortgage commitment letter, right? Or I'm going to give you a denial letter, or an extension. Or if I don't do anything, there's a good chance that I put my deposit at risk. But the point is, that's a contingency, like a mortgage commitment letter. And those contingencies, just remember, contingencies, especially here in the state of Connecticut, and I'm not a lawyer, not trying to pretend like a lawyer, I'm not trying to give lawyer attorney advice. You'd have to go to your attorney for that. But I'm telling you what I believe, right? Is those contingency dates are time is of the essence. So what might be another one, and what does time is of the essence mean? Another one might be that you're going to do an inspection within 10 days. Or 12 days or 14 days, especially you might need a little bit more time if you have to do a septic or if you have to do a well, right? But the whole point, well inspection, but the whole point is that that's a contingency, that you're going to do it within this time frame. And if there's a problem, you're going to go back to the seller and you're going to give them notification. You might have to show them the inspection report from a licensed person, right? And explain, here's what we're requesting. And sometimes the seller will do, and sometimes they won't. But let's just say, here we are. We say that we're going to do the inspection by April 20th. And guess what happened? We didn't do it. Maybe the buyer went to Jamaica on vacation. They went and enjoyed themselves. The real estate agent wasn't feeling the greatest. The attorney was too busy. And the mortgage person, they didn't mention anything because they don't have anything to do with the inspection. And that inspection date came and went. Well, now it's April 21st. Many sellers are going to tell you, hey, it's too late. You had your chance to do your inspection. You had your chance to notify us of any problems. And so now it is too late. And if you decide to back out of the transaction, you could possibly lose your deposit, your earnest money deposit. So you see, that would be an example of a contingency. And that is why time is of the essence with contingencies. Okay. Please, any questions? Demi, user 050, Rari, user 801. Please, any questions, please mention them. I'd love to be able to answer them for you. All right, so let's talk about the next fact to consider before choosing an offer for your home, or fact to consider if you're putting together an offer that you want to get accepted. Hey, Brittany, thank you so much for joining. Cal Kid, thank you so much for joining us. Buyer financing. Now, this one gets a little bit tricky, right? Because remember, most sellers, are they going to give preference to a buyer who is offering to pay cash for their home? A lot of times, yes. But what happens a lot of times? I mean, this happened, and it became a little bit rough to deal with this particular buyer. They thought because they have cash that they can make some crazy offers, that they can make offers that are 20, 30% less than asking price, and that their offer is going to get accepted. And in this market, it's just not happening, right? That's not something that's happening. Hey, Maynard, Block Party, BMs, thank you so much for joining us. So most sellers, are they going to give a preference? Yes. Is a large down payment. Now, you see, down payment is different than earnest money deposit, Earnest money deposit is money that is given at the signing of the agreement that says, okay, if something happens, I have more skin in the game. I'm not going to bail on it. Down payment is money that you need to come up with before the close or at the closing date as part of the loan. Okay, so somebody says, what if the seller agrees to fix what's wrong after the inspection, but makes the issue worse? Okay, so what, and that Barbie D, thank you so much. That's a good question. What if the seller agrees to fix what's wrong after the inspection, but makes the issue worse? Well, first of all, if you have a great realtor, when they write up the notification and what the agreement is to repair something, usually they're going to write that it has to be done by a licensed professional tradesperson. So, a licensed electrician, a licensed plumber, and so forth, a licensed home contractor. So, you see, if it made it worse, right, which we'd have to come up with a specific example, sometimes the tradesperson, especially if they have insurance, they might be held responsible if it's found out afterwards. Now, if it's found out before the closing, that can be remedied because you can say, hey, look, the foundation, there was water leaking in the basement. You guys moved around some dirt, did some excavation, did this, did that, and now there's even more water coming in. And then you could say, hey, either number one, I'm not going to close. I'm not going to have the closing until this is completed. Or number two, we're going to have to put money in escrow from the seller's closing. Right. So it was after the closing. It's been 1.5 years since I bought. So the thing, Barbie, that I would tell you that you need to do is look for the receipt, look for the tradesperson who did the work. Right. And go call that company and ask them to warranty their work, to come back and look at it and see what they did. Now, if it's something that the seller did on their own, it's going to be really, really hard. I mean, you would have to probably talk to an attorney to see if they can help you out with something, right? It was an LLC that sold the house. It was a flip. Yeah. Right. And so it's not to say that all LLCs or flips are bad, because some of them, are really great. But regardless, what the work, if it was electric or plumbing, it should have been done by a tradesperson, by someone with a permit. Right. So, I mean, someone with a license, and maybe they had to get a permit. So you might be even be able to go to the building department and see if they got a permit for the work that they did. Now, I don't know if that will backfire on you. Be careful. I don't know if that will backfire on you. So it's probably best for you to talk to an attorney and see if they can do something to go after the LLC. All right. So we got another question from Don Mary. What happens if you buy title insurance and years later there is discrepancies in the deed? So again, this is the discrepancies in the deed. Of course, this is an attorney question, but what I know about it is, number one, it depends on how the property was conveyed to you. Was it a general warranty deed? Was it a bargain and sale deed? Was it a special deed? So you'd have to look and see, well, what deed was transferred to me? Because that's going to tell you, okay, what guarantees were given to you, right? And so your closing attorney, the attorney who helped you with the closing, or the title insurance company, they should be on point. They should be on point to be able to help you with that. So I would reach out to either the title insurance company or your closing attorney and explain to them, hey, here's some discrepancies that I found, or here's what's going on. And you might be able to go back to your seller and ask for documentation of certain things, and maybe even have a lawsuit if there's a problem, right? So hopefully that advice helps you. Hey, Lula. Hey, Viola and Desi. Thank you so much for joining us. And I really do appreciate these questions. I think it makes it a little bit more exciting and fun to be able to answer live questions and try to give you the best advice possible. But yeah, so it depends. You're welcome, Donna Ray. Depends on what the deed says and what kind of deed you receive. You see, that's why you have to be triple careful. And I actually spoke to an attorney about this yesterday when you buy a foreclosure. Because believe it or not, there are foreclosures that are being sold, especially if you don't have good representation from an attorney when you buy, they're being sold with problems with the deed. And then years later, people are coming back and saying, well, you know what? I know Chase Bank said that they foreclosed on me, but they really didn't because my mother was not of sound mind. And so, I want the house back and all this kind of good stuff. So you have to be really careful about, okay, what's the history of this home? And am I going to have a good title insurance company, or in Connecticut, am I going to have a good attorney who's going to be able to represent me and check everything out? And Donna Ray, I see you say that's me. So that's what happens, right? And so, I feel for you. Hopefully, it's all going to work out. But I can tell you this, what I know, and again, I have to keep on saying, hey, I'm not an attorney, but what I know is that possession is pretty strong. So if you're living in that home, right, and you're paying your bills, you're paying your taxes, you're paying your insurance, you're paying your mortgage if you have one, it's kind of hard for somebody to take it, especially if you were smart enough to get title insurance. Because that title insurance company, they usually won't give you title insurance unless they know about all the defects and that they understand the defects in the title. And here in Connecticut, the closing attorney for the buyer, usually they're going to go back 40 years. If you're having a closing today, they're going to go back 40 years and check, okay, this person owned it from today, and they bought it in 2008, and they bought it from this person in 2008. They bought it. They've been, from 2008, they bought it from this person, who that person before them owned it from 1992. Okay. And they're going to go back 40 years. And if they find a break in a cloud on the title, they find a break where there's a time period that they're not understanding how the deed transferred from one person to the next, that's when they're supposed to come up with the issues of, hey, what happened here? So yes, Donna, you need a good real estate attorney. If you're here in Connecticut, Hartford County type of thing, Middlesex County, Tolland County, Windham County, New Haven County, let me know. Even Litchfield County, we can help you out with that. So you can just drop me a message, or, if you're somewhere else, look for a referral. Ask somebody, hey, who do you know that is a good real estate attorney? And you see, that is so important, because a lot of people are even trying to have closings without attorneys. So here I am. I'm going to be straightforward with you. If you really, really know me, you would know that a lot of times, don't get mad at me, right? But a lot of times I am not defending insurance companies, banks, and attorneys. I can promise you that. I am usually not defending insurance companies, banks, and attorneys. But in this particular instance, I am, because those are the people, like those attorneys, those real estate attorneys, that will sometimes keep you out of trouble. And I understand that you are in Missouri, so that might be a little bit, hard for you to get somebody right away. But ask a few people that you know. Hey, Yowdy, Whitewash, Diane, thank you so much for joining us. And of course, all of you, I appreciate all your likes, and I appreciate you sharing. Okay. So we were talking about some facts to consider, right? And why the highest offer isn't always the best offer when you're a seller, and then things to consider when you're actually making an offer, right? And so that's some of the stuff that we're going through here now to talk about. The next one is, we talked about, well, what kind of financing? Is it an FHA loan? Is it conventional loan? What are some of the issues that we need to consider? Is it a VA loan? I mean, hey, our veterans, right? They should be treated like gold, right? And that we have a VA loan that's available for them that might save them a little bit of money, but sometimes the criteria to get the VA loan is pretty strict. And so what do you think happens sometimes? Some sellers, they don't want to accept an offer with a VA loan. Some sellers, they don't want to accept an offer with an FHA loan, or maybe a new type of grant program, because they feel like it's the criteria in order to get accepted is going to be too hard. right? So what are the things that you can do from a buyer standpoint in order to make your offer more attractive? You might need to do things that seem a little bit more risky, right? On the same thing as a seller, you want to have a smooth, easy transaction. So of course, we might be looking for people that they're waiving inspections. Not to say that there's something wrong with the home, but maybe we just want people with that are waiving inspections. Maybe we want somebody that's going to close quick, that is already has like a fast approval, and we're not having to worry about, okay, this person's just given us a pre-qual letter, right? So Barbie said, hey, I went conventional, but still wasn't sure what that meant. That means that you basically, and I just need to get up for 1 second. That means that you basically went with an offer. Went with a loan program. I'm back, right? That means that you basically went with a loan program that allowed you to get better terms because you had better credentials, right? So a conventional loan, usually you have to have better credentials like debt to income ratio, maybe really good credit scores, good work history, and so forth. And so you were able to most likely get better terms, whether it was a lower interest rate, whether it was lower closing costs, and that sort of thing. Okay. All right. So I think we kind of talked pretty strong about, okay, why the highest offer isn't always the best offer. We received a home. I have a home on the market. I have quite a few, but I had a home on the market where we received 3 offers, and we actually chose the lowest offer. And why did the seller choose the lowest offer? Because first of all, it was a probate, right? It was a probate home, which means that the gentleman's father passed away. Okay, and so now the home is going through probate, and this young gentleman, I feel bad for him, but he's very busy, right? And he needs to, number one, get over the death of his father, right? And he doesn't have time, energy, resources to do a lot of work around the home. Not that it needs a lot of work necessarily that we know of, right? But he doesn't want to have to deal with pretty much anything when it comes to that. So we actually chose the lowest offer because that buyer, number one, they came to the table with a little bit higher deposit, earnest money deposit. Number two, they came to the table with a letter from their mortgage person that shows that they have the fast pass, ready to close letter, right? We don't have to wait 30 days just to get a mortgage commitment letter and then wait another 1 or 2 weeks to actually have the closing. This person has already basically been through a lot of the activities that need to be done for a mortgage. And then number 3, they waived inspections. And then number 4, they said if anything came up where maybe the appraiser, right? Maybe the appraiser would say, well, the appraiser would find something wrong, give it to the appraisal report to the underwriter, and then the underwriter would come back and say, well, this needs to be done before we can give you the mortgage. Well, this particular buyer said, hey, as long as it's less than, $8,000, I'll be willing to take care of those things myself. So you see that buyer, even though they were the lowest, and they were the lowest by about $15,000, they're the ones who got the offer. And it wasn't because the seller was trying, hey, Paul, thank you so much, Moses, Laura, Lara, Barbie, thank you so much for joining us. It wasn't because that seller was like, oh, there's something wrong with the house that I'm trying to hide. So I'm happy they're waiving inspections. It was like, I just don't want to be bothered. They're too busy. They have other things going on in their life. And that's what, some of the things that we work on together to try to make it happen. Okay. So as we talked about, and we did have one person says he respectfully disagrees that, but we talked about that we believe the market's going to change sooner or later. Do we know the exact time frame? No. But we're kind of almost at the peak, my friends. It's been 3 years. It's been 3 years of these prices going up, and at the same time having low interest rates, high prices going up, buyer demand. How much longer can this go for, especially if the interest rates were to go up to 7, 8, 9%, which they could. We don't know. I mean, if you know, let me know. If you know exactly what's going to go on in the market, I need you to let me know, first of all. And then I also need you to tell me the lotto numbers for this, for tonight's drawing. Because, that way maybe I don't have to do my open house on Sunday. I could tell my seller, hey, I'm sorry, I would love to do your open house, but I just won $110 million on the lotto, and I don't think I'm going to have time to do it. Right. So if you know exactly what's going to go happen in the future, you tell me, please. And you know what? And I'll give you a special gift too. Okay. So I'd like to go over one more topic, right? That I think is kind of interesting that maybe not everybody talks about is why your home may not sell even when others around you are. Right? What are some of the pitfalls about why a home may not sell even when the others around in the same neighborhood are selling without an issue? Okay. And so I put this once again, it's in my magazine, right? But also I have it in my book. I don't have my book with me right here in front of me. I could go get it over there if I wanted to, but I'm not going to go get it for you. So if you wanted a copy of my magazine or the copy of the book, just let me know. Put it in the message. Right, put in the message, and then I'll reach out to you, and we can make sure if you're here in Connecticut, I can get you a printed copy, and if you are in outside of Connecticut, I can definitely give you the free digital copy. All right. So why your home may not sell even when others around you are. Let's talk about that. And again, really quick, I appreciate your likes. I appreciate you sharing. Trexes, Moses. Thank you so much for joining us. Okay. Number one, overconfidence. Oh, what do you mean, Rob? I'm not supposed to be confident? Yeah, you want to be confident, but you can't forget the basics of home selling 101, right? That's what's going to hurt you. If you think, oh, I'm just going to list my home on, I'm going to say Zillow, and call it a day. Oh, I can do this myself. I'll just list it on Zillow. Well, guess what? There's a good chance that you're not going to have the expertise. Believe it or not, us real estate agents that have been doing this for a while, that know what's going on, we understand how to sell a home and the tips that need to happen, right? Hey, daily movie countdown. So this is where the dad from Transformers went. So I don't know if I look like the dad from Transformers. I've been told, especially if I let my hair out, I look like that guy from like Moani or something. I've been told that before. I've been told that I look like a few different people. But anyways, overconfidence. Do the things that need to be done. Home selling 101. If the home smells terrible, if there's chipped paint, rotted wood all over the place, right? You have to understand that you're not going to get maybe as much as the other homes, or it's going to take a little bit longer. If everything's in disrepair, you might still be able to get a pretty good price for your home in today's market, but it might take a little bit longer. Okay. If you're not pampering your home enough, right, you're going to see that people are going to perceive your home that it needs too much work. And guess what happens? Tim, thank you so much for joining us. Carmen, Arrow. Guess what happens? Human beings talk. Oh, they're going to talk to their friends and family this weekend. Oh, I went to that house and it's dirty and it smells and it's this and it's that. And then that person's not going to want to go look. If they're on the home search as well, they're going to be like, forget it. I don't even want to waste my time. Okay. So the basics of home selling 101 are very, very important. Here's another one: pricing your home too high. Oh man, nobody likes to hear that one. Okay. Yeah, Barbie, I know personally, I refused a house from the smell like mothballs. Who wants a house that smells like mothballs? Or like today, today's Friday, and I'm going to tell you, hopefully my wife, she gets it, and I think she does, is that I like to have some fish, especially on Friday. Depending, I might do some grilled fish, broiled fish, or maybe fried fish. But you know what happens to your house when you're cooking that fish in the house. Woo! So if our house was for sale, we would not be cooking fish, right? I love fish, but what is it? It just does not make everybody want to buy that house. Okay. So let's get back to the pricing. You might be thinking, oh, yeah, I heard this before, pricing, pricing, pricing. Well, guess what? Higher demand, like we do still have right now. Okay. I'm not trying to like say the sky is falling. Hey, Nima, thanks for making comments there. I'm not trying to say the sky is falling, but higher demand doesn't mean you could just list your house in any amount you want. Right. I mean, we have to do the research, we have to plan accordingly. And a lot of people still, even though we talk and talk and talk, are forgetting about appraisals. So I don't know about where you live, but the majority of people are still going to the bank to get the money to buy a home. Okay. The majority of the people are still going to the bank to get the money to buy a home. And when they need to do that, or going to a mortgage broker like Nima, right? Going to a mortgage lender. Okay. And when they do that, an appraisal needs to be done. And usually you're paying for a single family home around here, you're paying $500. If it's like a multifamily, maybe $600, $700, $800, depending on how big it is. If it's commercial property, of course, it's going to be much more than that. But the point is we could have a home that in this neighborhood, they're all selling for about $300,000. Okay. And then we get this seller that he's like, yeah, but I did this and I did this and I did this. So, you're like, okay, well, how about we put it up to 329.9, which you would be the highest price selling home in the last year in this neighborhood. And he's like, 329.9. No way. I want 399.9. Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, this seller did what we call overcompensation, right? They put in the Scarface golden faucets, right? They put in the 900 square foot patio that's bigger than, half the size of their house. They put in a metal roof. They did this, they did that. And so now here we are, we list the home and we get an offer for 420. And what's that seller telling you? Oh, you see, I told you, you got to listen to me. I know real estate. Okay. Now the appraisal comes in at 335. Okay. So now it doesn't matter about that high price that you got, because it's really worth, or what the lender is going to offer you is they're going to offer the buyer either the appraised amount or the purchase price, whichever one is lower. So are there very many buyers who are going to say, hey, you know what? It was appraised at 335, but I'll be willing to give you the 390 that I offered. I'm going to just, come up with that extra $55,000 out of my pocket. Don't you worry about it. Hey, forget about it. 55,000, no big deal. I want the house. Well, you know what? If you think so, then you're probably watching maybe too many TV shows, because that's not what's happening in real life for the most part. Very, very, very few people are going to give you much more, maybe 5,000, maybe 10,000 more than the appraisal. Maybe if it's like a $450,000, $600,000 house. I mean, I saw somebody give $30,000 more than the appraisal. Okay. But it was like a $650,000 home. Okay. And maybe when you get in that price range and higher around here, then there's more people that have that cash. Okay. So Barbie, I know you have another question. Please feel free to put it out there. So, but anyways, the point is what we're talking about is pricing your home appropriately. That's going to make sense to people, right? And so, and within similar other houses. Okay. Okay. Similar other houses in the area. Take a look at that comparative market analysis. Does it make sense to you? Okay. Why your home may not sell even when others around you are selling. Okay. How about this next issue? Unresolved title issues. Okay. So I know we had somebody else mention about title, but let's see here. Barbie puts, what happens if the house caught on fire when the LLC purchased it, but they didn't disclose it? Okay, so all I can answer mainly is like an example is in the state of Connecticut. So here we go. Again, I'll just mention it. Let's talk about it. What happens if the house caught on fire when the LLC purchased, but they didn't disclose it? So here in Connecticut, right, that LLC would have to fill out a residential property condition disclosure report. And I believe Barbie's from Missouri, so I'm not sure if they have the same type of thing. My guess is they do. And on our residential property condition disclosure report that comes from the seller, or Ohio, Barbie, that comes from the seller, right? It does actually have a line item. What is there any previous or is there any current fire, smoke, damage? Hey, Angel, thank you so much for joining us. Right. And that has to be disclosed, even if they repaired it. Now, at the same time, Barbie, right? Here's the other thing. Don't get mad at me, and I'm not trying to get anybody in trouble. But when you buy a home, most of the time you want to do an inspection and or you want to go to the town hall and look up the records of the home. And if you had a really good inspector, they should most of the time, now sometimes there's what's called latent defects where you don't see it, but most of the time they should be able to see, oh, there was a fire at this home and be able to give you that info. See, that's showing that you did your due diligence. Or if you went to the town records and they said, there was a fire at this home and they had to put in a new electrical, new plumbing, new joists, new structural types of things. And that would, again, show that you did due diligence. Right? But if someone just buys something totally blind, no inspection, not getting residential property condition disclosure reports, not going to the town hall and doing any research, then that's not really showing due diligence. And there's who knows what a judge would say, but they might say, hey, listen, there was no due diligence done. And so, I can't really help you. Or a lawyer might be able to prove, hey, this person lied. You see, if you can prove that previous seller lied to you, then you probably have a good case. Right? Yeah. And so Barbie did have an inspector, said everything looked good other than a few minor fixes. But they can tell if there was fire damage previously. Or, hey, even if there was a fire and they fixed it all up and everything's great, then everything should be fine. But yeah, that's, you have to prove that they lied. Like if you have some documentation saying that there was no fire, smoke, damage, but there was when they owned it and, they're showing that they fixed it, they should have disclosed that. I mean, you should be honest when it comes to that sort of thing. So hopefully that does help you. And Ola and Michelle, thank you so much for joining us. Angel, good to see you, my bud. All right, so let's talk about these unresolved title issues, which we did refer to those a little bit earlier, right? The title, so legal title is what shows ownership. That's one of the things that shows ownership. And so title issues basically misinform potential buyers, right? And could sometimes spook them. So for instance, let's just say that someone looks up the title to your home and they find out that you did not get title insurance. And there was some kind of issue where they can't figure out your previous buyer, how long they own the property. You see, that will create clouds on the title, which means that people start looking at the home like there's a problem. How about this one? 3-family home. I just had this happen to me this week, right? A 3-family home where the rental amounts were kept low over all these years because the landlord didn't want to have to deal with losing tenants and all that kind of good stuff. They were around $1,100 a month for the first, second, third floor, but the market rates are $1,600. So now when this person goes to look at it, and also, what did the seller do? The seller locked in, did leases with these people, did 1 year leases with them before they put it on the market. So how is someone going to give you top dollar, again, why your home may not sell even when others around you are? How is someone going to give you top dollar for your home, just like your neighbor's 3-family, when you signed leases that are below market rates? You see, all these little things matter, right? And so those are some of the questions or concerns that people might have to say, okay, how come my home isn't selling? And I, sometimes I talk with people who had previously their home on the market, the home has expired with another agent. They're like, oh, well, the agent didn't sell it and this is the reason why. And then I say, well, what? Well, tell me a little bit more. Tell me a little bit more. And I find out a lot of times the real reason. Sometimes is it because the agent didn't necessarily do the best job, or they could have done a little bit better marketing and pictures, of course, right? Sometimes that's the issue. But a lot of times we're talking about not having the home selling basics 101, the smells of the home, the pictures of the home, the rotted wood, the maintenance items that were never taken care of, right? Sometimes it was priced too high, especially where it's in a bad location. You might have a home 4-5 houses down that sold at this amount, but your house is on the corner of a busy intersection. And maybe people don't want to hear that traffic. Maybe that could play a part of it. And you might be like, oh, that's not a big deal. It could be a big deal because it's something different, right? The location is different. All right. All right, my friends. Well, I want to put it out there. We had some great questions. Ekla, Lloyd, That Cafe, thank you so much for joining us. Does anyone else have any other questions or items that we can go over here today on Friday? Right. Otherwise, we have this, it's part of my magazine. Now what? I know you can't see it. Now it's backwards over here for TikTok. But now what? So now what is it that you're going to do? Right? Here's what I would tell you. And I'm not telling you to be reckless, but I'm telling you to start thinking about how you want your life to be, right? Start thinking about where is it that you want to live? Do you want to start some investments? What is important to you? And if you're here in Connecticut, reach out to me. Actually, even if you're not in Connecticut, you can reach out to me because I have a nationwide network of real estate brokers and lenders that I work with, right? So reach out to me and I will try to help you, get you the advice or get you some solutions that can get you to where you want to be, because it's April already. Do you remember January 1st? Do you remember last fall? Do you remember last summer? Do you remember last April? Or the one before that, or the one before that, when you said, hey, I want to get my credit fixed and I want to buy a house, or you know what, I want to buy a smaller house, I want to buy a bigger house. Well, start getting things in motion, even if it's only little small steps. You might be like, yeah, Rob, but I can't do that because of this. Yeah, but every day you can take a small step to that goal. You can stay a little bit laser focused on it, have a little bit of a burning desire for it, and keep on going, even if only it's a small baby step, till you can make the big step. Okay. Especially if you've gone through some life events, new baby, losing a job, divorce, someone passing away. Okay. Those are life events that you might be ready to change your lifestyle. You need a bigger home. You need a smaller home. You need to move somewhere else, whatever's good for you. But start making those steps. because today's Friday, and guess what? Before you know, it's going to be next Friday, and the Friday after, and the Friday after, and then these 60, 80, 100 years that we have on this earth go pretty darn quick. All right. So that's everything I have for you. God bless you. I definitely wish you all the best. Again, reach out to me if I can help you with anything. And this is Rob Rosa. Hopefully your favorite real estate broker. Signing out, my friends. We'll talk to you later. Bye.